I'm about to do you a solid and I'm gonna show you how I plan content on the weekly without burning out, without feeling so much pressure to have to create so much content and batch constantly and sit down at a computer and think of all these different ideas and feel stressed out about that. Because here's the thing, not everybody's wired that way. And I feel like it's such a trendy word to hear, like batch content, batch content. Yes, you can, and it is an awesome thing to do. I do it, but I am more of a hybrid content batcher because I like to create content through batching because I always have a ton of ideas, but I also like to create content on the fly because it allows for new ideas and creativity and to create in the moment rather than just sitting there feeling pressure to try to do something. Whenever you're forcing yourself to sit down and write it out and think of ideas, you probably notice you tend to not come up with as many ideas in those moments. Whereas if you're in the shower or you're taking a walk, you might just have that thought spark. And in those moments, it's really great just to get it out, record it, write it down, take a note. But I digress. I'm gonna walk you through this process of how I plan weekly content. And I do it through batching, and I also do it through creating this on the fly content without that pressure of feeling like you need to come up with a month to 6 months to a year's worth of content in one sitting, because I don't know about you, but to me, that just feels heavy and overwhelming. Now, before we get to the planning, we gotta do some prepping because I wanna make sure you're comfortable and confident in how you're going to be producing content. And to do that, you need some clarity on a few different things. The first thing is you gotta identify your content pillars. What are content pillars? Because everybody has a different definition of what those are. I did create a video last week talking all about the details and the in-depth way that you can identify what your content pillars are. I'll put that right over here so you can watch that as well as this video. But ultimately, in a nutshell, your content pillars are basically your content framework, your 3 to 5 pillar category topics that you discuss so that your audience knows who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. And so these are the overarching topics where you will actually create micro topics underneath those to keep your content on point. Now, hear me out. This doesn't mean that you're putting yourself in a box and you can never talk about anything else. Of course, you want to be personable, you want to be relatable, you want to get into your stories and show off your lifestyle and all that jazz. But again, if you're building a business online, offline, wherever you're building it, and you want to bring it to social media, you want to be very clear in your messaging on who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. What product solution offer do you have that's going to make their life a heck of a lot easier? And that leads me to the second thing that you want to consider, which is what are your offers? What are you promoting? How clear are you on how this helps people? And can you express that within your content? You want to be so confident in what you offer and knowing that it is really going to help people and all the ways it can help people. You want to know the nitty-gritty about your actual ideal client or customer and how that links back to what it is that you offer. Because when it comes to creating content on social media, not a lot of people talk about this, but social media content is actually the last piece of the puzzle that you create. You actually want to be reverse engineering your content based off of what it is you're offering, whether it's something for free, whether it's an event, whether it's a paid offer. You need to know where you're going to be leading people so that you can create relevant content that's congruent to that next step. So it's important that you sit down and get very, very specific in understanding what your offers are, all your offers. Like, again, whether they're free or paid or whatever, you need to have a real deep clarity about who would need it and how it helps them and the benefits, and being able to really paint a scenario with what it is your offer can do for your actual ideal client. So for example, in this video, what makes sense for me to share with you is my 25 original Reels planner, because I'm helping you plan content in this video. And the next thing that I can do to support you in that is have you go download my guide, because I will actually help you plan your next 25 Reels. I give you live examples of me creating content and how you can actually map out implementing it for your own niche and create those actual pieces for yourself. So be sure to grab that. And the next thing you want to consider is what type of content do you want to create? Because there are different ways to show up on social media. You can do long form content like YouTube. You can do short form video content like Reels. You can go on Instagram and create the slides, the carousels that people can slide through and have it be more of like the little mini blog content. You can create static posts. You can do lives. It's really up to you, but it's important to understand how you want to be creating so that you can understand the context in which you're going to be delivering that actual content. And you don't have to feel all over the place thinking you need to do 1,000 different things. Listen to me. I'm going to repeat this on this channel so much. All the ways work. So the idea that it's not working for you just means it's not working for you. Try another way. But also keep in mind that you want to create from a place that excites you. Don't create from a place of pressure and that you feel like you have to be doing it, because then you're not going to be consistent, and that's when you start to feel that burnout. Now, here's something else I'm going to empower you to do, and that's going to be for you to decide how often you want to show up on social media. Meaning, your level of consistency is a choice for you rather than you feeling like you have to show up every day, 3 times a day, whatever it is. Look, there's a time and place to do that. If you want to, build some momentum and boost your visibility and all that stuff, sure, post for 3 times a day for a week or whatever. But at the end of the day, what does your lifestyle permit for you to be able to do right now? And then maybe push yourself a little bit over that edge to give yourself a little bit of a challenge. But don't kill yourself trying to create all this content multiple times a day when that's just not the season of life that you're in. I know for myself, as of this video, I actually like to create once a day, and I repurpose and repost to 3 other platforms at a time. And that's really time consuming. It takes a minute. But at the end of the day, that's what I can handle. I do this. I work full time for myself. I don't have another job. So I have the bandwidth to be able to do that. Not to mention, I've been creating content for a really long time and I've developed the muscle. I do it very quickly. I'm very efficient with what I do now. So it doesn't take me as long to do that as it would for someone just getting started with this process. So figure out where you're at and how often you want to be creating content, because whatever you can commit to, you'll stick to. That rhymed. Now, the new habit that you're going to want to get into, if you're not doing this already, is literally writing down all of your ideas, all of your thoughts, all the inspired things from, things that you've been checking out on social media. Maybe you have inspired reel sounds and audios and whatever. You want to be compiling all of this on I don't care where you do it, on your phone, in the notes section. I have my clients that we create everything on Airtable. I have a very analytical, organized system for content creation for my clients. And so it's really helpful for them to be able to keep it there. But ultimately, wherever you're doing it, please do it. I would suggest on your phone, in your notes, Evernote, whatever you're using, because your thoughts go with you wherever you go, and so does your phone. So it's really smart to use your phone for whenever you have a thought come into your head. Now, here's the thing. Don't tell yourself you're going to remember it later, because you won't. You will not remember that thought later. You never do. You know this. So make sure you're writing everything down. The goal is to have your list of ideas start to become rich and full and ahead of your content schedule. Because if you have more schedule than you do ideas, you're going to start feeling rushed, overwhelmed, and that's when, again, burnout kicks in, because you don't have enough content ideas to even fill the calendar for the week. So you want to make sure you're always ahead of that schedule. And here's the thing, when you start doing this and you start getting into that habit, you'll never run out of ideas, because every single day you have new conversations, you are researching, you're reading, you're doing all these things that are going to inspire new thoughts. You just have to get into the habit of writing them down. And then you want to be saving every single idea that you have, whether you're on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, wherever you're at. Save your inspired ideas, especially when it comes to reels. There's so many funny, fun things that I love to do, and I just save it so I know that my saved folder is always going to have a bunch of inspired ideas. And a lot of times when you're watching these things and you're scrolling through social media, you might see something and go, oh my gosh, that just gave me an idea, right? But that idea is completely different than what you just watched. Write it down. So again, you want to save everything that is inspired so that you can either go and recreate it in a way that works for you and your niche and all of that kind of stuff, or be writing down your actual thoughts. Now, let me give you a bonus tip with this. When you're on social media and you're scrolling and you're looking for stuff, do it through the lens of being a content creator, not a consumer. I get that there's a time and place to zone out and laugh and be entertained when you're on social media, but during work hours, if you're scrolling social media, it should be because you're either engaging, connecting, and doing outreach, or because you're looking for inspired ideas. You're looking to, again, as you're scrolling, you might see something and it will just spark another idea for you, or you might like the way that someone did something and think, oh, this is something that I could implement in my own way, in my own business. So you want to be constantly putting on the content creator lens when you're getting into social media. Now, this is something you know you can do. The question is, are you actually doing it? This is super powerful, and I think it's something that people talk about all the time, but you want to actually be implementing this, and that is repurposing your content. And there's different ways to do that. You can actually just take a piece of content that worked well for you in the past and repost it, republish it. You don't need to change it or anything. The other thing you can do is think, oh my gosh, my eyebrows looked totally whack in that video. That's me, went through a whole thing. And you can actually redo the video and make it better quality, or maybe you have more to add to it. You can beef up the value inside of it, or you just have a different approach you want to take with it. Or you can actually remix it by turning that reel into a carousel, or that carousel into a static post, or whatever you want to do. You can start creating different variations of that content, so you're not busting brain cells trying to come up with new ideas all the time. You want to get maximum reach out of your content, and that means reusing a lot of it. Because here's the thing, you got to say certain things over and over and over again for it to really stick. So you'll probably hear me say things in a certain way over and over again, but maybe I'm saying it in a different way, and one time you hear it, it's gonna stick for you because I said it in a different way. So you gotta be okay with regurgitation to some degree, because your audience needs to let it penetrate and sink in and really get it. Now, one thing that really helps when you are scrolling through social media and you're looking to be inspired by new ideas, let's say you're saving a bunch of reel ideas, for example. One thing I love to do is, if I personally go on TikTok and find a lot of inspired ideas. So what I do is, when I find that idea, I actually go in to use the sound as if I'm gonna record it right then and there. But if I'm not in a recording mode or ready to record it, I will still press record. I'll literally be laying in bed. I don't care. I'll press record. And then once I have a recording of it, I can go type the text on the reel of my idea. Because sometimes, have you ever noticed, if you're scrolling, you're like, oh, I could use this sound, and you think of an idea of how you would use it, but then when you go to record it, you forget what that idea was. Now, when you go into your drafts, you'll see all these ideas that you have, and then you can just go in and re-record it, copy the text, and paste it back on when you're done. So now, when it comes to creating content, you have two ways that you can do this. I'm going to give you the permission to either sit down and batch, where you can take an hour, 2 hours. You want a time to see how long this actually takes you. How much content do you need to create for the week? What types of content are you creating? Are you doing the carousels, the reels, etc.? And then you're going to spend the time to actually produce the content. When you time yourself, you can see how long it's taking you. You can see what took so long, and you can start to become more efficient as you go. You'll get quicker as you go, I pinky promise, so just keep going. And then the quicker you get, you can start adding more content to your plan. Like, oh, this is taking not as much time anymore, so I can now post 4 times a week or 5 times a week, whatever it is. So you want to actually start producing the content. And if you're doing reels, for example, it takes no time at all to go in and record an actual reel once you get this process down. So allow yourself to do it and see how many you can get done in an hour. You should be able to definitely create reels within an hour to get your week's worth of content done, no problem. So 1 hour a week, even if you're not sure what you're doing exactly. And then you can actually sit down literally at night when you're just chilling, watching Netflix, and create a couple carousels or create a couple of Twitter quote reels or whatever you're wanting to create. You can just find those little nooks and crannies to just spend a few extra minutes being able to produce that content. Now, what helps to not feel the pressure to batch so much all the time is pretty much I create a piece of content every day, especially when it comes to the short form videos. So if I have 5 minutes or 15 minutes before I'm gonna start a call with a client, or I just am on a lunch break or whatever, I will take 5 or 10 minutes and go into my favorites or into my ideas that I've come up with that are for original reels, and I will record one thing. And what happens is by doing that, you figure if you do that every day during the week, that gives you 5 extra things to have in your drafts. So maybe I go into Canva and I put up a Twitter quote reel, or I go into Canva to create a carousel, which those tend to take a little longer sometimes, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have that one extra piece to alleviate the pressure to feel like you need to be batching so much. So I call that like slow batching. Every day you're creating one piece. It's compiling a little batch by the end of the week that you can use for the following week. Now, on the fly content is when you literally have a thought in your head and you just go create it. You go talk, you go post it, you like in the moment, it's like there in your mind and you know exactly what you want to say, and then you just go say it right then because you haven't posted yet for the day or whatever that looks like. So that's the power of creating on the fly content. And again, if you've already posted and maybe you posted an hour ago, you want to wait, go make a note of it for later. This is how you start to like get into this little rhythm of like always creating to some degree. And it's really going to eliminate you feeling exhausted or overwhelmed because you're just taking it in smaller stages and smaller steps versus like, I've never been a fan, never have I ever sat down to create a month's worth of content. That always felt annoyingly exhausting to me, and I just never wanted to do it. So this has been my process for years, and it's kept me so consistent because I allowed myself to create in a way that really works for me, and you get to do that too. Now, I'm going to highly suggest you have a very good relationship with your calendar and set up on your calendar the days you're committed to creating content, because the thing is if you don't commit in the beginning to specific days when you're posting, you won't be consistent. I'm at a point now where I don't even have to think about it. I know I'm creating a piece of content every day, and I know I'm posting a piece of content every day minus Sundays because I operate like Chick-fil-A. But I know it's like brushing my teeth. I don't have to overthink it or overanalyze it. It's happening. But in the beginning, when you're not used to that as a habit, you want to commit to specific days to hold yourself accountable, to be your word, to be in that commitment mode. And over time, it'll just become like clockwork to you. It'll get so much easier. You'll start creating more and more content if that's what you desire to do. And it'll actually be fun. Now, I want to encourage you to get really organized with your content. And to do that, I'm going to say do it digitally. No more writing in notebooks or on a random piece of paper. Get it in your notes on your phone. Get it on an Excel spreadsheet. Use Trello. Use Airtable. There's all these different tools that are designed to help you get organized and functioning efficiently within your business and your content creation efforts. Like I said, I absolutely love my Trello system that I've created. It has helped me and my clients so much with not only staying organized with content, but knowing exactly what types of content that you're going to be creating. So I'm going to encourage you to do that so you're no longer stressing about where you put that last idea, what piece of paper was it on, when did I repost that video last. You want to get a little bit of a system together so that you can just get a bird's eye view and glance at everything that you've been creating. Now, if you're someone that is a huge fan of scheduling your content, go for it. There's ways that you can go about doing that too. You can do that through the Creator Studio. You can do it through Planoly. You can do it through later.com. There's all these different ones that you can use. I personally am not much of a scheduler. I've just kind of embraced the fact that I like to prep my content ahead of time. I stick it in drafts because I do a lot of short form content, or I just tee up my actual post that I'm going to do the night before. And when I wake up, I just hit post. Ideally, that's what I like to do. Let's be honest, it doesn't always happen, but it does happen often. But that's essentially what I do, and it just works well for me. I don't like, again, I'm not this huge batcher that needs to like have 30 days of things put in my calendar. My mind just doesn't operate like that. But if you are a scheduler, there are those amazing tools. I will say the one place I do like to schedule is it inside my Facebook community, the Content Creator Studio Unplugged, because that does actually have a simple scheduler within the platform. And I know sometimes with with schedulers, there's always the rumors that, social media platforms don't like you using outside schedulers and it can hurt your reach and blah, 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 blah. So I just don't do it. But at the end of the day, do what works for you, because again, all these different ways work. It's just identifying what is going to be the best outlet for you. So in a nutshell, know what your content pillars are so you know what the heck to talk about. Be clear on the types of content you want to be creating so you know how you're going to be delivering it. Get on a schedule. Mix in a hybrid of batching and baby batching and on-the-fly content. Take note of every thought and idea you have. Be sure to consume content on social media as a content creator, not just a consumer and a zombie that's zoning out. And if you want to schedule your content, you schedule your little heart out. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. But either way, don't forget to grab your 25 original reels guide below, because I'm going to help you plan your next 25 reels. And guess what? You don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can do it 1 week at a time. And until next time, I'll see you on the next video. Oh, yes. And be sure to subscribe. I'll see you later.